gonna start first with the last of the officer election. So we were wondering, like, oh, is Tyler gonna run for outreach now that he
I
lost
gotta
the
like turn
GDC
in
now?
like.
But he's at GDC, and it took us like an hour to remember that he's at GDC. And we're like, where is he? Vote for him.
Yeah, this wasn't your pretty much good though.
Okay.
I mean, I see that like
Wait,
one of
did
those
you
little
wait?
So for
Okay, cool. I was just like, I was on the phone and I saw you waving and I'm like,
yes. Well, no, I want to do the elections first.
Should I move the robot or?
We don't know how much time.
It's fine there.
it's fine.
And then accommodate.
Okay.
Oh, it's
So-
a robot.
What?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
crap.
We don't
So-
want to waste as much time as we did last time.
Yeah, let's not waste time.
Actually, I just wanted water.
You're like, are you running?
Yes, I'm running, but I want water.
The water's running, that's something.
Yeah, you know.
Pun intended.
Hope this flows well.
Stop! I'm gonna choke on my water now.
Good.
I can't drink it anymore.
Good, then we only have one.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Opening comments.
I'll go first if you like.
Opening statements.
No. Right. I'm running for outreach officer mostly because I feel like the club can project itself a lot further than it actually has. I feel like we can connect ourselves more with the IDGA, we can stay more connected. I've been doing work with the website lately, trying to update the look of the website, and also starting Twitter groups and other things that we can all stay connected to.
Facebook groups.
And I've been talking to a couple of people at Flashbang Studios to see if they can actually stream the IDGA meetings to us as well. I just feel like our sites aren't quite high enough, or aren't quite as high as they could be.
No marketing.
Okay. So, for any of you who have bad memory, short-term memory, I'm Cindy.
Thank you. I actually forgot.
Wait, what's the phone number for 911? Okay, go ahead.
You just said it.
I don't know.
I forgot. What was it? Oh.
Anyway, I'm Cindy, and I think I would be a good outreach officer because I have many years of design experience. Right now, I'm working on the identity of our club. Oh my gosh,
Logo.
we're identityless. Ah. But yes, I'm working on the logo for our club. I also think since no offense, but since I'm a girl and all of you are guys, I kind of know what you guys, I know what both guys and girls are looking for in a logo and what they want incentive for in a club, you know, rather than just what?
That's explosion for the logo.
Yes, yes, explosions.
I thought girls like explosions.
I like explosions. I don't know about other girls, but I like it.
Don't necessarily. I can't speak for everybody.
Flower.
Swooshy explosions, you know. But yes. Even though I lost to zooming, I still feel like I can still win this.
Wait, who are you again?
Cindy.
It's a total sin to have.
Okay, any questions?
Any questions?
Are we doing questions for both of them?
Yes.
William, how much design experience or graphic design experience do you have?
Quite a lot. I've been working in Photoshop ever since I was a sophomore in high school, which was 7-8 years ago. I got it for graduation, actually. I was using it before then through school, and I was also using AutoCAD, which is a terrible program for 3D. Never use it. I switched to Blender and then Maya soon after that. But I've had quite a few years of design experience. I'm currently working with Danako Studios in Japan, doing 3D models for them, and also doing a little bit of remote work for GameDev on an unannounced title for mobile platforms.
How did you get Maya?
Graduation.
No.
I already have quiet. I got my. Okay, if you tell us what the game is, we will be able to. Just kidding. I do not endorse this. I do not endorse this behavior. Okay.
So it's all self-taught?
I have been completely self-taught. I'm not a student. I drive here about 40 minutes just to get here during every meeting. It's, you know, it's what I want to do with the rest of my life. And I actually reached out to local studios around here to find out where I could go to meet other like-minded people. And this was one of the places they suggested. So.
That's cool.
So, Cindy, how much graphic design, web design experience do you have?
Web or graphic? Make up your mind.
Anything?
He said it had to be
Both.
exclusive or it could be both.
Okay. Well, I have 5 discrete years of graphic design experience. I took it as a class at first, and then I picked up on the pace of everything. And I actually have a pretty good grasp on graphic design. I have a good distinction between what is graphic design and what is artistic design. You know what I mean? Because there's always a place for artistic design, but sometimes not graphic design. They don't mix sometimes.
Like, how important it is for the text to be legible.
Exactly.
as opposed to looking pretty.
I know you like that pretty font, but man, don't use it.
No.
What have you done for the classes? Like,
For the classes?
like do
Actually,
you have some kind of portfolio?
Livio knows. In the class that I took in high school, we pretty much make like posters, logos, anything that's happening at that time. So one of them was creating a logo for Google at that time. Doodle for Google.
That was, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was a competition.
Yeah, and I was one of the winners. No, I was the winner because it was only one per school back then for some
Oh.
dumb reason. I was like,
Hey, congrats on that.
yeah. I was actually really surprised. I thought.
I did not know anyone who won.
Really?
Like,
Well, I mean, like I went up
Oh,
into
for-
nationals, but I
wow.
didn't make it all the way to top 40.
International.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't make it to international, but I went to national. Still won.
That's-
And I also have.
You took that class for 4 years?
Yeah.
The
Every
4
single year.
4 years of the class.
Yes.
That's dedication.
My shameful first year is gone now. Everything thereafter.
How many took?
Okay, that answers my question. Do we have any more questions?
Yes, Patrick.
Do you guys have any like examples of your artwork that you've done to show to people?
You guys should no.
Yes, I do,
Draw a
actually.
stick figure and make it have attitude, like a certain type of attitude, and we will judge. I will judge based on.
Livio, do you have any?
Stick figure.
Josh, please
have
do not
my
encourage 80s marketing.
No. I'm totally
You have,
being like serious though. Being
I don't
able
know
to
what I said.
convey
Maybe I saved it
emotion
as
through
a-
art,
yeah.
like art.
Well, yes, your
But you guys don't have
graphic
to do it.
design skill actually that
Would be an important
in an
skill,
outreach
I think.
position.
Yeah.
Yes, outreach means
I'll
advertising.
give you a stick figure with an attitude.
Make
It
it
Yeah,
look
but you also have
It
to
has an attitude,
have a
not
lot of
existent.
initiative.
Okay. Here's
You
your
should
initiative to
ask
for me.
both of them that. That's a good request.
When he gets up.
Yeah.
I am Bob.
Okay, when he gets back up here. Sorry, Livio.
So what's your request to do?
I should probably use Dropbox.
Let me think about it.
Well, I have everything on Photoshop. We don't have Dropbox installed, so not on this yet.
Maybe I feel like graphic design and stuff is more important because I've been. What?
Keep talking.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Livio.
Even though Tyler was the outreach officer, he barely ever made any posters because I was always doing it. I'm probably the only one who had experience making.
And I can't make posters.
Oh, it's
so
the
you can draw.
translation of.
Tyler made one poster.
One poster.
It was more like a flyer than a poster, and he made it using a publisher. And there was no reason. And it was
No, didn't you make the one that has the portals?
I made that one.
You made that one?
I made all of them.
Wow, Tyler.
Slacker.
Well, I also kind of took the job from him.
Okay, using
You won't have
Livio's
any problem
laptop.
with me. Just saying. I
This
won't
is
take
one
your
of my
job.
designs for a local bus wrapping contest. And the contest was to put forward the idea that Valley Metro is something that you would like to use as a college student or somebody who doesn't make a lot of money, because it's efficient. You don't have to buy gas. You help the environment because you're not wasting gas. You know, driving your own car.
Did you actually illustrate that?
Yes, I made all of it from scratch.
Oh, I can't illustrate that.
I can only
I
fill in
just find
colors.
pictures and put them together.
What's the
I can
thought
color
process
stuff for you.
behind, like your design decisions?
Okay, so how I learned to come up with a final design was to sketch out very many designs, a lot of designs. So I had about like 10 roughly, and then I went down to like the top 3, and then I asked around to see which one that people felt more like put out my message. You know, my message was that Valley Metro was clean, green, and efficient.
Okay.
And so they picked this one, and of course I spiced it up, and yeah, this is fine
You
company.
can't tell, but the third strip has explosions.
Yes, because buses have 6 sides and a third magical missing side.
Oh, that.
He looked up, he got explained.
No, I'm disappointed. I'm just stupid.
No.
That's not.
I have more examples if you want to see.
So what does William have to show?
Currently, what I'm going to show is what I've been doing to the website.
Yeah, I saw that on
Normally-
Facebook.
I've been trying to redesign it to be a lot more user-friendly and a lot more web standard, as well as still being able to be easy to edit, because that was one of the concerns that the Vivo had with having a custom website, was building at the top of what we have now is Blogger. I started building this one on top of Tumblr. That way we could still have the custom HTML and CSS elements in there, but still have it to where any user could basically go in there and type up a post or edit photos or anything like that. And the nice thing about Tumblr as well is you can actually backdate all the previous things that we've had in there, and it will put them in all the previous posts that we have on the website, and it will put them in there for it will backdate them in there so that they have the respective post dates that they have now.
So since you've been thinking about the website, what are the biggest problems with the current website?
It's not very easy to read. It looks thrown together almost. It doesn't look cohesive.
But I like the resource.
I have it right here.
Oh,
The reason
where's it open? You beat me to it.
I love that thing.
I was just gonna show it
I
to
want to add
people
more
who
ads.
haven't been.
I'll probably do more ads.
I like it.
So the
But if
It depends what the current website looks
I
like.
want to crack a joke about the Tumblr.
I do agree
because
that
it's a community.
I don't like the balance between the top bar and the sidebar and the content. It feels a little off. It just doesn't feel good. But it looks okay in my opinion. Maybe because I spent so many hours looking at it.
It does look good.
Well, I think the
I
simplicity
kinda like it.
behind
Yeah.
it is good.
I also don't like how the author's name is buried at the bottom, and I can't
Yeah.
change that. But that's just a minor.
Olivia, we have to think of death of
You
the author.
can change that.
Death of the
I've
author.
tried, but I couldn't make it really
You have to go into the HTML and edit it out. It's
Okay.
not very nice because the person who made the design obviously wants credit for it, but
Another thing that I don't like about the blogger site is, I really like how different posts are very easy to separate. Like you know when a post ends and a new one starts because of
For
that,
this one.
because of this part. But if you post multiple posts on the same day, it will not do that. It will put them on the same. It only separates it if the date has changed. So if there's 2 posts on the same day, it looks like 2 posts. It
That's
looks
all.
like 1 post. I mean.
that's all the styling people. You can do that in CSS.
Yeah, but it's actually more complicated because of how this blogger template works. Because it groups everything based on dates, and once it has grouped it, it's really confusing to deal with. And I'm like, I'm just not going to deal with it. I'll just post everything on separate days, even if it's not true. I'll go back in time. But yeah, Blogger is pretty frustrating a lot of times, and it would be nice to have a new thing.
Well, I think that if you're gonna build a website, it's going to be frustrating.
Yeah, it would be. And
Because
there's a lot of,
different
like, I could talk forever about all the websites and media sources that
I mean,
the
it's the
site
same
has.
for Tumblr. Tumblr still is hard as Blogger.
And my biggest concern is if we build something, are people going to actually use it? Like
Yeah.
if we build like a Twitter group, like we have a LinkedIn group and a Steam group, but we never
Use it, right.
So the biggest challenge to me is not whether we have it, but how we use it. And if the work is actually necessary.
So that's also one of the things I wanted to address, is making it a little more user-friendly. And maybe making it so we can actually use our own Tumblr accounts to comment, edit, and do other things to the website as well. Have Q&A sessions.
At least with Blogger, everyone has a Google account.
Yeah.
Email account.
Yeah, so, and yeah, for like Tumblr, you had to sign up in order to comment or ask a question or something. Which is why I like Blogger for now, you know.
I just wish we had a cooler design. Like, one of my biggest, the things that I don't like about the current site is that it's black.
Yeah,
And
it's really dark.
I
I thought
personally
it was
want.
cool, like professional.
It kind of does, but it also, I would personally like a bright color set because it would make it feel more open and like we're not just a bunch of guys in the basement.
I was kind of intimidated when I first came. Well, I was kind of intimidated when I first saw it. Like, I'm not sure if I have the expertise to join it.
Oh, like people think we're more
You
professional
missed
than we
our
really
speech.
are.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's fine, like,
Oh,
to be
there's a vote?
casual.
Not yet.
Outreach.
Soon.
So,
Oh
Should we
yeah,
vote?
what I wanted to
Yeah.
bring up earlier.
I don't think I should vote.
Outreach is about going out in the community to bring people in. I'm very proud to say that I love volunteering, especially with Jane.
oh
And
yeah, how many things have you volunteered for?
like every single one that she gives up, hey,
There
who
was
wants to volunteer?
the festival book,
U of A, Chandler,
the Chandler one,
yeah,
and now she wants to put one together
in the summer, right?
the summer.
The
Yeah.
workshop.
And she also contacted me about doing something in April for the library. I haven't sent that out yet. So the library on Friday held a game design workshop that Zooming sent to listeners. And they're thinking on expanding that to follow-up workshops. And Jane would like to find volunteers to help do that.
I would do that.
But
I would love to.
I think I might have forgotten about that email. I need to find it.
Good thing I reminded you.
Because I hope it's still in my inbox.
Well,
Anyway,
I have another
But
question.
anyway.
we should probably get back to
It's
the.
20 minutes.
Yeah, I lost
Yeah.
I have another question for both
So
of
we
you
should vote.
guys.
Okay, go for it.
Well, this one. Well, you mentioned that you want to like connect more with the local game development studios, in a sense, and you mentioned that you can connect more with perhaps the volunteer opportunities around the community. How would either of you like make those events contribute? Well, make those groups add to the club besides just a personal connection? Like, how could it increase the membership of the club, or how much things we do within the club?
For volunteer work, since they are volunteers, I could see that they could help us run other workshops that we want to run for our own, like for our next game jam. So we want to run a workshop for stencil. Maybe one of the volunteers is also pretty good at stencil, and they could also help teach the workshop with us if we have a large number of people.
When you were doing volunteering with Jane, did you meet many people who were like not in the club,
Yeah.
or in the study?
Yeah. A lot of them are in my ISTA class, or they were in the ISTA class, but they're not in the club. So they could probably help with like stencil workshops.
So I think we should.
But I guess that was me too.
Yeah.
Can I ask you the same question?
Yeah.
One of the things I would like to do, rather than going and finding people and bringing them here, is change the content that we have here and make it better and make it so that people want to come here instead of us having to go find people. Make it so that we have good enough content and good enough things to offer so that people would like to come here instead of us having to go search for people. That seems to be.
Yeah, that is basically retaining members. And we talked about this recently, about how if you're not a computer scientist, there seems to not be that much room, and we need to fix that.
Yeah, and retention rate will basically be solved if we did have better content, like
Right.
good enough to keep people coming.
Which is what we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks.
That's true.
All right, we ready to vote? Just let me-
Closing statement.
Anyone not have a card?
Anyone not have a card?
That's actually true.
All right, so do you guys want to do closing statements or?
I'm good.
You good?
I'm good.
I said
All right, let's
everything I
do
wanted
it.
to say.
Cindy and
William.
Matt.
William.
William.
For another one. Matt William.
Where'd you get Matt? Oh my gosh, Cindy.
You're not supposed to look at other people's votes.
I might have seen what you saw.
You're not supposed to look. How? That is very. That is a great lack of integrity on their part.
It's really fun. They gave me a free tour.
You really should not be looking at other people's votes. Shame on you.
They had like 5 minutes.
Grant?
And I was like,
I think it's a great look.
That's it.
Yeah, it's a grant.
It's a great look. I think that sounds good.
I don't think I read what exactly
We
you
could
wrote.
probably
Trying to boost
distribute
the art part
the
of it.
load.
Yeah,
I
it
think
is.
I don't think they
We
actually
like video games, so.
I think that's the only option.
It's still good. Do you know how to like do PNG stuff? Sort of.
PNGs, yeah.
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 From-
Because
We can do, yeah, we can do like digital 2D art.
I'm doing a
Okay.
really lame game tutorial, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna have to draw a PNG to make the bad guy because it's like a shooter game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really bad. And I was like, I need a PNG.
Yes!
I was like, if I had an art person, that would be awesome.
Takes an hour.
Then I wouldn't have to do it because I'm lazy.
Yeah, you helped, dude.
And I have two.
Yeah. What's up?
And you want?
You guys want to like just bring out some?
Yeah.
We'll also
I
do
thought
good
we
jobs.
as a website, we had like drop box for like art.
That'd be
Yeah.
really
Good job
cool.
anyway, Will.
Yeah.
Like we just put generic
What does
stuff
that
in
mean
there
for the
people
web?
would use.
Yeah, like for
What does that mean
shooter
for the
bosses,
webpage?
or
Yeah.
like, hey,
It
this
means
is
video gets more work. No, just kidding.
It can still work.
Yeah, we can still have William,
I don't know how
yeah,
to do
collab
it,
with
so.
us.
I'm not gonna be like, I'm not the outreach
It
officer.
can be done. in
Wait, through you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we have
Yeah,
35
we just
minutes
put
left.
transparency to that.
Now
Yep.
you
Now.
can give your talk.
Photoshop.
First of all, thank you all for allowing me to kind of crash your meeting. I really appreciate the time. I know you're busy and have a lot of things going on. Let me start with an introduction. I'm Dr. Brian Carter. I'm an assistant professor in the Africana Studies program. A bit about my background that actually brings me here relates to gaming. During my dissertation program at the University of Missouri-Columbia many years ago, I started working with, back then, what was a brand new technology called virtual reality. There was a call put out to faculty members and grad students, and I was one of 2 people on the entire MU campus that submitted proposals for use of this new technology. At that time, we were using cave environments. I guess you guys know there's a cave here. I don't know how many of you have been to it already. We were using a cave, a modified cave at the University of Missouri, and we basically connected a number of these cave units together around the world. My project entailed using this kind of technology to teach my literature courses. Yes, I'm a literature professor. I teach African American literature of the early 20th century, the Harlem Renaissance and Jazz Age, and I also teach digital culture in the program for Africana Studies. And so the idea here that I had was to recreate a portion of Harlem, New York as it existed during that time period to help my students understand the literature that we were reading during that period. So we would be able to go inside places like the Cotton Club, the Apollo Theater, various other cabarets and night spots, and have students contribute to the content that related to our reading that would also contribute to enriching this, this environment in various ways. So the cool thing about it was that, of course, the grant ran out for connecting these cave units together, and literally they were spaced all over the world: Chicago, Amsterdam, Japan, and we traveled to all these places to connect avatars. This was back in 1997, okay, so please excuse the sort of antiquated terminology that we were using back then. We were using big silicon graphics computers about the size of that doorway almost, and it was really old, but at that time it was rather unique. Fast forward to about 2005, we were looking for a way to offer a sort of collaborative connection, much less expensive, and one that would be available on the desktop. So we started looking for various gaming engines and other real-time environment solutions, real-time virtual solutions. And we came up with, of course, Second Life, which was the best of the time at its time. And we converted Virtual Harlem into Second Life a number of years ago, and it's been there for quite a few years. Well, Linden Lab changed their entire business model, and they decided that they would eliminate the educational discounts for nonprofits and educators, which of course raised our rates, doubled almost. It was about $7,000 a year out of my pocket to pay for that, and I didn't want to keep doing that. So I started looking for less expensive options. An option made itself available to me while I was visiting Paris last year for a conference on the immersive education group. And an organization at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland made themselves available to host on OpenSim the Virtual Harlem project, which includes now Virtual Harlem, 1920s Harlem, New York, and Virtual Montmartre, which is the 18th arrondissement in Paris at the same time period. So they are currently hosting the OpenSim version of this, OpenSim basically being the open source version of Second Life. Now, over the course of a number of years, we've had a couple of game developments that have been going on in Second Life, the Second Life version of this. Georgia Tech did a very interesting game that was sort of, I guess, for lack of a better term, tree-based, where you could choose a character that you wanted to embody, and based on the character that you chose, you would be given a number of choices that you'd make throughout the game. And basically, it was sort of an elaborate kind of scavenger sort of hunt, where when you went to a certain place, you'd be given a number of clues, and based on those choices, you'd be given some additional choices that you'd have to make throughout the quote game. We're interested in doing something a bit more interesting. So let me tell you some of the pathways or the direction that Virtual Harlem is going to take now that it's in OpenSim. In the OpenSim version, we're going to use that as a development platform. I say we, and I mean me and maybe a couple of my colleagues that are interested in that, but here on this campus there are only a handful of faculty members that are using this kind of stuff in the humanities. The reason I'm coming to you guys is because I am very interested in digital humanities, and there's a very concerted move on campus to increase the digital humanities footprint, which basically means that there's a collaboration between the humanities and the sciences in a real concerted way. And so this is, I think, a very good example of that. So the direction of Virtual Harlem is that we'll use the OpenSim version of this as our development platform. I'll be teaching classes that meet either occasionally or quite frequently from within that environment. For the past 5 years, I've been teaching classes that met exclusively in Second Life as part of my composition and literature classes, where everybody would basically meet with me for the first week of class for orientation, and the rest of classes would be held inside of that virtual world, regardless of where people were physically. And I'll be doing that again here starting in the fall semester with various classes that I teach here. So what I'd like to do is look at using the OpenSim environment as a development platform where students contribute content to this world. But I want them to have other things to do in this world. So I contacted an organization called Otherverse. It is, well, formally, and it might still be, an adult-oriented virtual environment online. Some of you may have heard of that, where, of course, adult means really adult animations and all that kind of stuff, sort of like an elaborate virtual chat area for adults. But they're trying to go legit, so to speak, and they've contacted me and a number of other educators to showcase some of our educational ideas in their other academy. And the thing that attracted me to them is that they are now converting their platform to Unity. And that's attracting to me because, of course, Unity is supposed to be able to run on almost any device, I think. Tablets, mobile devices, as well as laptops in relatively low bandwidth. And I've always wanted Virtual Harlem to be able to run in that environment. So what they agreed to do with, if I let them use the source, I guess, for the OpenSim version of Virtual Harlem, that they would then supply back to me I guess the Unity shell or whatever it is, the platform, so that any students here that were either learning or working in Unity would have something to start off with, a built environment that they could then start off with, so that then gaming aspects can be incorporated into that. So what I'd like to do is work with you all in some way, shape, or form, and have you all consider what interesting sort of game can be developed that would incorporate content from the Harlem Renaissance or Jazz Age, but that would still be interesting and fun for players to play within this world using the Unity platform. The landscape is pretty much wide open because I don't really have any preconceived notions about what might be interesting. It's just that I don't want it to be a shooter. If that wouldn't necessarily fly very well in many educational environments.
So what about the riots?
The those didn't happen until 1935, and so we're a little bit before that. However, one of the things that you might consider is that the stock market crash was pretty tumultuous for some people, and that might be your little element of violence if you want. But then, of course, there was the whole gangster environment, and that was really huge in Harlem as well as in the 18th arrondissement in Paris, where either the immigrant gangs were infiltrating this 18th arrondissement, which was basically a suburb of Paris during that time period, or, of course, organized crime was, just exploding in various major metropolitan areas, including Harlem, New York, during the 1920s, because, of course, that was when Prohibition occurred. So all of that can be, considered as you guys, if you want to work on something like this, as you guys consider what would be interesting gameplay. The only things that I would like to see are things that would be related to some aspect of education, so that people would learn about either the history, the literature, the political science, or anything that would be interesting learning for this type of environment. So whether it be people solving problems or running into historic figures that would offer them some information, whatever the gamut may be, that would be something of your design. Now, the cool thing about this is that I think, I don't know how many other game clubs are in other universities, but I don't know also how many of them are actively collaborating with those of us in the humanities, particularly those of faculty members that are in Africana Studies. And I think it would be a very interesting example of not only collaboration, but also creativity on both parts, to look at how quite possibly something interesting, cool, fun, but yet innovative and educational could be created using Unity, using this platform, using this environment, and that could then be rolled right back into classes that I'm teaching that you guys could then be able to modify and evaluate and use for your portfolios, perhaps. Yes?
Yeah, so are we going to be working with anyone of your students?
Possibly, yes. In fact, they would be the ones that would be supplying the content.
Yeah, like educating us on the, okay.
Exactly.
We need to educate.
Yeah, because we don't know anything. I don't know much about Harlem.
Right, and so my students would definitely be working with you guys, but and I guess another part of this is that I don't know how many of you are a part of the Honors College, but I've been asked to teach an honors colloquium in the fall semester that some of you may be able to enroll in. I'm not sure what the what the requirements are for that, but also I would be very interested in perhaps teaching maybe something like an independent studies course through Africana Studies, where you guys could still earn credit while working on this game. So there are a lot of ways that we can get you guys educational credit where I could, if you did that option, I could meet with you guys maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks or something within an environment, or face-to-face. I could go through the educational part bring some students along with me, and we could basically educate you guys. You could then teach them about maybe some virtual characters, bots, whatever, and that collaboration could continue. But we could definitely work on perhaps some college credit if that were something that anyone was interested in. So we have a lot of options with regards to how we can work that portion of it. But I definitely want the students to help supply some content. Yes?
Okay, make sure you get Olivia, your middle, or Olivia.
Oh.
Remember to
I
give
should
everyone.
forward it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you-
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you,
Yes.
Can you describe the colloquium?
Yes, actually this colloquium, it's one of the one-credit courses that they teach, and I just was asked to do this just before spring break, so I don't have all of the details. But I do know that it's going to be something that deals with apps for productivity and for fun. I did a presentation during Honors Week called "There's an App for That," and I looked at a number of mobile and desktop applications for teaching and learning that were interesting, to include broadcasting and augmented reality and stuff like that. So I'm thinking that the colloquium will most likely focus on that, but it could also include some aspects of gaming that could be educational, or educational games or something like that. So I'm still trying to pin down the actual description, which should be done, I guess, in another week, because registration is already going on for the fall. Okay. But if any of you wanted to see what the current OpenSim / Second Life environment looks like, and they are exact duplicates of one another, I just posted a link to it on my Twitter feed. BCMini, BCMINI on Twitter. And if you click that, you'll see a link to a video that's linked there, which is in my Dropbox folder. And you'll be able to at least get about a 13-minute navigation around both of these environments, which are two islands right next to one another. And as far as the Unity version of this, it should be a pretty much exact replica of what you see in that video. Of course, modifications, changes could be made, but really I'm looking at incorporating things like automated agents and various aspects of gameplay that would be just fun from your perspectives, but that would also incorporate the educational content. So we can meet, but I don't want to be hands-on with regards to directing you as far as do this, do that, because I'm not really sure what would be interesting and fun from a gamer's perspective, and that's what I want you guys to kind of help figure out, which might be interesting for you to do if you wanted to work on something like that. Okay. You don't have to make a decision today. I know you probably want to talk about it or anything, and I don't want to put that kind of pressure on you. But Livio does have my contact information. I'd be more than happy to meet with you guys at another time. Maybe we can all meet within this environment. You can all create accounts for the OpenSim project if you like, by first going to my blog site, which is ibryancarter.com, IBRYANCARTER.com. And when you go there, if you click on the link that says research at the very top, you'll be able to read about the development, the evolution of the Virtual Harlem project, and read about its move from Second Life to OpenSim. At the very bottom of those paragraphs, you'll see a link that says click here to get started. When you click that link, that'll take you to the St. Andrews site, where you can click login, which will then allow you to create an avatar on their OpenSim server. Once you've created your username and password, you'll then be able to download the Apollo client, which is a modified Firestorm client, which of course can access OpenSim and Second Life, but it's been modified to go directly to Virtual Harlem. So you log in using your first name, space last name, and your password, and when you log in, it'll take you directly into the Virtual Harlem project. You can navigate around there. There are some free locations inside of OpenSim where you can modify your avatar, download skins and clothes and stuff like that. The same stuff that you can do in Second Life pretty much. But then at least you'll be able to see what the environment looks like as an avatar, walking around, going inside the various buildings. As I mentioned, the Unity version is going to pretty much be an exact replica of what you see on the OpenSim environment. Keeping in mind that whatever development we do in OpenSim, we hope to be able to just transfer that content over to Unity maybe once a year or so that we can then distribute that to our various partners around the world. So yeah, that's really just sort of the really tip of the iceberg of all the things that are going on with that particular project. There are opportunities to do some things in Paris. I'm teaching a class in the fall semester that is going to be a course on African Americans in Paris, and we'll be taking a handful of students over to France with us during the fall to work on an augmented reality tour with a tour company of that does tours of Black Paris. And so using the AR application called Layer, we'll be augmenting those tours in various ways. And so if any of you are interested in getting into a course like that, although it's not directly related to gaming, it definitely has some relationship to the Virtual Harlem Montmartre project, because you'll see some of the places that are in the Virtual Montmartre project in OpenSim and Second Life. Okay? So once again, you guys can talk about it, get back in touch with me if you're interested. If you're not, that's fine, I won't get my feelings hurt. But individuals of you may be interested in working on some aspects or even taking some classes that I teach, because all of my classes are much more technically oriented than maybe some of the traditional courses that are taught in the humanities. And so if you need some of those electives, please definitely consider my courses in Africana Studies, and I think you'll definitely enjoy the end of course project opportunities that you have that will deal with some pretty technical stuff if you want to go that way. Questions?
Are they Gen Eds?
Yes, they are Gen Eds.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can contact me through, I'm in the Learning Services building right down First Street on the corner of First and Vine. You can contact me there. I'm on email, of course. Leo has all my contact information. BC Mini is my Twitter feed, and you guys have my blog site, and you can contact me through there as well.
So, doing an independent study is a great way to work on a game project.
Thank you for telling us.
And get credit for it, or money.
Yeah, you can earn up to 3 credits, of course, and you know, I would be directing that, and we would, you know, work on, you know, if it's a group sort of independent thing, which would be fantastic. That way, you're collaborating with your colleagues. If it's an individual independent thing, we can work on that. I'm doing a couple of independent studies right now, and so it's really no problem for me. And I think this would once again be just a fantastic collaboration, and maybe something that would be different than your typical computer programming that some of you might be doing in some of your other classes, which might maybe add to your portfolio with regards to gaming, because educational games are really starting to take off, and some of the first-person shooters are very realistic with regards to their cityscape. Well, imagine doing something like that for... I'm sorry?
Assassin's Creed, Jerusalem
Yeah.
is like to scale.
Or the new BioShock is really cool. I don't know the name of it, but I've just seen some commercials of it. It looks amazing.
BioShock
Yeah, exactly. So.
It seems to be a conflict between two different ideologies. Like, I think one is the more xenophobic nationalism, and the other is the more communist Vox Populi, I believe.
That sounds like a humanities.
It's so deep, bro.
Oh, no.
So deep.
I'm not, Ken Levine's pretty early.
You know, one of the things that I've been when you guys mentioned the name Jane, is that the Jane that's over in the computer engineering? Sista, and Sista, yes. I've been working with her, and she'll know who you're talking about if you mention my name. We've been working on an idea called the 5D Consortium. She can tell you a bit more about it as I'm going to sort of basically describe. But this notion of 5D is something that we came up with at a meeting that we had during the early part of the fall semester. And what we thought was, for those of you that have seen the movie Cloud Atlas, I love that movie for some reason, I don't know why, but we thought that it would be very interesting to use as a development platform, the Virtual Harlem project, and incorporate this notion of course, 3D, 4D being able to explore different time periods of that particular environment, but then the 5D making changes in one of the periods and seeing what that ripple effect might be in the future version of that particular environment. So, you know, for math, it would incorporate predictive analysis and all this kind of stuff. For the humanities, it would incorporate having to know very much about a particular time in order to make accurate, interesting predictions about the future. So, you know, that might be something that may be coming up in the later on in the spring or early fall when we submit a grant proposal to the National Endowment for the Humanities, because we've never heard of anything like this being proposed. And you guys might keep your ears out, because we'll most likely be using, since Harlem is the most fully developed full environment here in the humanities, we might be using that as our development platform. So see what happens. Yeah. So a lot of things can be predicted there, which of course you guys with your math genius can kind of imagine. So, right. So let me know any other questions before I get out. Yes.
Since you're going to be using a much more powerful engine, are you interested in making it more?
Yes, definitely. And that's one of the drawbacks, you know, with these real-time, you know, virtual environments, is that you can't really make the graphics as photorealistic as you want to, because they're all streaming from servers that could be located thousands of miles away, and so you have to deal with bandwidth and graphic cards and stuff like that. So definitely want to make it look more photorealistic, because of course Unity I think helps with that. But knowing that, you know, we may not necessarily be able to have a fully rendered environment and then be able to add content, you know, or update content immediately. So those were some of the things that we were dealing with having to choose an environment like Second Life, because students were constantly adding and making changes, and of course you can't do that on something that's already rendered or very easily. So yes, definitely want to make it better though, because I know it's not necessarily as nice as many of the games that you guys probably play. Other questions? All right. If you do have any, I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, I'm
no.
sorry. Okay, sorry.
No, I'm just very attentive.
Okay. All right. If you do have any questions, you have my contact information. Please contact me. I do look forward to hearing from you guys whenever. There's no real rush to make any decisions, but it would be fantastic working with you. And I think it would be a lot of fun to maybe present at some conferences and to just showcase something like this to the university community as a really fine example of what digital humanities can do with regards to that kind of collaboration. So thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, I know. So, would there be opportunities to work on the project during the summer?
Yes, definitely. I'll be around all summer long, working on one of my 2 manuscripts. So I'll be definitely around, and we'd be able to do an independent study over the summer or during the regular semester. So you just tell me what you'd like to do, and we can definitely find a way to make it happen.
Yes. No other questions. I'm very interested.
Yeah, thanks for
You'll
coming.
probably hear from me.
Okay, well, thank you all very much. I look forward to hearing from any of you, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
So this might seem random, but have any of you been exposed to the Harlem Renaissance in some way or in school?
Oh,
I
yeah, I was
really,
there.
really,
You were
really
there.
love
I was
the
exposed to it as a
music
young
from that
kid,
time
so I
period.
have a third arm growing on my body.
So
I'm
I
also
didn't
black.
have- But I mean, like, just like any knowledge, like for me, I've been exposed to a little bit of it in English, sophomore English. I read like, I think it was a book called The Eyes Were Watching John.
Oh yeah, totally. I actually know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
I'm sorry for joking on
Wait,
my
what? That was like really
I'm not
sarcastic.
Yeah, but
Alright.
I know it's like, but the only thing I remember best about that book was the author was, because she wrote her book using dialect. They were like, oh, are you an Uncle Tom or something? Or
Was that the one with the snake? No, okay, then I don't.
You could tell he was
Yeah.
not from the sciences because he was way too buff.
He's way
Crush a melon.
way sure, sure. I used to
Talk about TF2 for
TF2.
Oh yeah.
No,
Maybe
no.
we should postpone that for next week.
we probably do.
Yeah, we should leave that for next week. We have 10 minutes.
So nobody actually read anything about the Harlem Book?
Well, I really, really, really love American music from that time
Yeah,
period.
Well, yeah, with A push, that's another thing.
That time period was a period when it was finally becoming really socially acceptable for white people to listen to music that was considered black or had very black elements in it. So, like, it was just starting to become sort of okay, and I really like the music from that period, and so
Until
yeah.
Pat Boone.
I've got like a specific interest in that.
Have you been to the Center of Creative Photography? Because I know they did photography on Jazz Age.
Yeah.
It was really.
And they have the music playing.
Yeah. I would recommend people check it out because I know they take it down this month. I don't remember when.
The 31st, I think they take it down.
go right now.
It's really cool because
No,
it follows the artist, and the artist like
I don't even have time to
left
be
his
here right
wife.
now.
He like left his wife and kids to go take pictures.
Yeah,
in
for,
that
like,
district
years.
for like a year, in like just this abandoned like house.
Mhm.
He just like stayed in there, and just took pictures.
The
of everything.
pictures are really cool. They
Yeah.
really bring you a slice of life.
Mm.
on that thing.
It's really.
So the crazy thing is
Really
that I
got wife
went
for it,
to
though.
an honors
Yeah.
luncheon thing in the beginning of this semester, and it was his talk, and then he saw us at the club fair and contacted me, like, hey, we should do something. Like, oh, I know all about you. I was at your forum luncheon.
That's called
Let's
taking
stop it.
initiative.
You call
Yes.
it continue casting.
Yes.
I'm very interested in actually doing
So,
something.
did you two
I was
actually take
thinking,
notes?
like
I
don't
get
know
it.
anything that's
Just
about
like
the Harlem
online.
Did you record all the
Renaissance.
links and
That's
stuff?
why I said we need to
have
work
this
with someone.
Twitter
Yeah.
and
Well, I think,
Yeah, I was
blog
like,
and
since
stuff.
we have this
That was it.
environment,
There's also
we
a-
Don't have this
can like
email, though. You
convey
have
some
that.
type
I have
of
that.
like,
There's
maybe there was
also this
certain type of
Yeah,
things that
there's
you
also
could do
this
that
blog.
would be,
So I feel like we should
it would
conglomerate
accept
all
black
of them.
people.
Yeah.
Well, I think
No,
it
or
being during the
and
Prohibition
then would change
is
the
a really
environment in
good
some way.
Right.
Like less
fuel
hostile
for it.
Yeah.
or something.
That games, a lot of games are just about like having a fundamental conflict,
Yeah.
and Prohibition is like you have an automatic conflict.
Yeah. And I mean,
This-
it had a lot of flaws, but the first thing I thought of was LA Noire. Did you play that?
Yeah.
It's very historically realistic in the
Yeah.
fact of the landscape and like everything that was involved and how it was designed. And I feel like that's what he would want.
Well, I did think about having like a murder mystery,
Yeah, that's what I
film
was
noir
thinking
type
too.
of thing. That would be a little too early, but
Yeah.
maybe students wouldn't care. But some kind of murder mystery where it's like,
Bye, everybody.
well, how should we follow up on a lead, or which lead should we follow up on? And only one of them would be like, all of them would be a little anachronistic, like it wouldn't really fit the period.
Especially
Whereas-
with like realistic crimes
it's like,
going on during that time.
but you can always find
Like,
big band performances at the Apollo Theater. Let's ask around there, and that would be the right answer.
Yeah. And
Because
like,
it's like big band played at the Apollo Theater, yes, and the rest would all have some kind of mistake with them,
yeah, that whole like crime bootlegging to go with the Prohibition too, like all those underground bars and everything.
Right, you would not go to the Apollo Theater to look for alcohol. You would have to try to find some kind of sleazy speakers hidden somewhere. Yeah.
So it could be really cool.
I think we should just do BioShock.
In Harlem.
Harlem.
So isn't Bioshock based on like fictional?
Yeah, it was.
ideas?
I think
Yeah.
it was Ayn Rand.
Well,
right?
what's Ayn Rand was the first one. The
Atlas
second one was I don't remember. It was
Second one was crap.
was crap.
Yeah, it was based on crap.
No, the
No.
I know the
Crap
second
Bridget.
one. I know the second one was more or less like individual. No, groupthink. Yes.
It was very good,
Well-
like time period wise though. It got a great sense of like
So
50s and
that's
60s
so
America.
like the most important thing actually might not be the game itself so much as the game feel.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of doing this is to
Rapture
give
its-
people a very
Rapture is its
intuitive
own
sense.
character.
It's
Yeah.
going to be walking around and
Yeah, so you
overhearing the
you
people
remember
talking
it-
about
Yeah,
certain things
yeah.
of the era.
Yeah, so
and
having
other stuff
having
like
that just overall sense of what it's like is the real purpose that they want to do this instead of just having you read it in a book.
Because the problem I've seen, because I watched a little bit of the video,
Yeah.
and the problem is it's a big empty city.
Yeah,
There's nothing in it, nothing moving.
Nothing's happening.
So it needs to come alive. That's the big
Nothing to
challenge.
do.
So maybe we should have
I was
some
thinking,
actors.
like, I think what he was trying to, well, it's like a huge city, right? And
Yeah.
it sounds cool,
Yeah.
right? And I think what the direction should be is that we should make it fun to discover things, and in order to do that, you have to make it risky to discover something. So you have to give them something. You like introduce them to the character, why you should care about the character, and that's constantly under threat. Like, maybe it'd be racism or something. It's like you're a black person, so you have stuff to lose. You have your family or something, and like
Well,
the more
it doesn't-
choices that you make, it changes the
The
environment.
alternative to risk is that you just make it interesting to explore, where you reward people where, like, this doesn't seem directly A to B for my goal, but maybe I'll poke it, and you will get some kind of deeper reward from that. And so if you can really show the player, hey, the more you explore, the more you'll get out of it. You will get rewarded for most of the things that you poke at and interact with. That's another way to kind of engage people.
One potential idea is, you know, like maybe treat the prominent figures as say important NPCs. Like maybe have a game set on a specific.
World of Warcraft.
No, just like that. You simply have like it's at one specific point the game progresses time wise. And no, you can't go back in time. This is not time travel. But just like maybe if you're at the right scene, you might witness a specific event.
Maybe it is time travel, and that's why we are there.
Oh God, Assassin's Creed. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
like something sort of plausible, not Assassin's Creed.
Just some way actually, I don't know.
Okay.
Just I feel like, how do we attach the player with the NPCs? Like, you don't want to just simply be like, oh, I have to read about this guy in a textbook.
Like, I think what you're getting at, what
I was thinking.
what are we asking players?
So the way the only thing I can see is conversation. I'm not interested in more creative people.
Yeah, so the way most educational games fall flat is that they just kind of end up being quizzes, interactive quizzes. And those are really annoying. And I think the best way to do it would be to give it kind of an open game feel where, like, rather than lots of things being fed to you one at a time, there's lots of stuff going on, and you can just kind of, if you just notice something, you get the reward of having a little detail. And like, oh, people used to wear shirts like that, you know?
And I think a really important aspect is designing it for play. Remember, people are supposed to be playing in this world, and not to design it as, oh, you go here, then you go here. Then.
Yeah, like, that's not what I hope.
Like the information itself could be a challenge. If you don't answer this in time, you're going to lose it, right? And like I played this game when I was little. It was a math game. And I sucked at math, but I like games. So like in order to move, like forward, left, right, down, and shoot, you have to enter in the math problems, and they constantly change. And I get really pissed off, but I'd be really into it, because if I get in like a chain and I'm alive in like a corner or something, I'm really into it, because I don't know, there's the challenge.
The game put you in the zone.
You have to get the player invested into it before they get to that point.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like
you need to offer them something interesting to do.
Also,
you're like, what's something that? Sorry. It's like, what's something everybody knows about the Harlem Renaissance? It's named Harlem.
Add the Harlem Shake to this soundtrack.
No, don't ever bring it up.
That'll be the game over music when you fail.
No.
I think the rhythm.
No, the music
is
just horrible.
Kind of
what were you gonna say?
Something to consider also is making the environment and everything just very interesting to begin with, because I know something about like any game I play is that even just mentioning something and not even just like saying like, be like, oh, you know, the theater, and you don't have to be the theater, which was invented in 1927. Like, you don't spell everything out. That's not natural. But even by mentioning something, it actually makes you want to know. If you make it engaging enough. I mean, I'm an art major, so I mean, just even mentioning Art Deco in the BioShock universe, which is entirely around that. Well,
one possibility.
I'm showing him because he likes art.
Yeah.
It engages me enough to like research that more and understand why they pick these themes and why these artistic ideas and all that. It's making an engaging universe and making everything interesting, and sometimes even making things subtle makes it even better and makes the person want to learn, as opposed to the game making you
playing on the player's curiosity.
Maybe like if something's interesting happening, you can have like a bunch of people crowding around something, like why are they all crowded around there for some reason?
Yeah.
That's like one.
And
just
you
have
have
a little
all you have is, and all you may have is a name or an idea.
just don't say, like you said, don't have.
Nobody stands on a corner saying in 1927 this was, you know, nobody does that.
So in educational games, there's a big habit for people designing these games to just assume that these things are interesting when they're really uninteresting.
Yeah.
Horrible.
And then make
you don't give them value.
And then they just vomit
But
out
if they're already interesting to the person, then they just want to read it in a book. The idea here is to make it engaging for people who don't already see that it's interesting.
Right.
To show them it can be interesting by giving it in a different form than just a lecture.
Yeah.
Well, the easiest way to do that would be to embellish it.
Well, personally, I think it's really good that we
People playing with John, like saxophone shooting lasers out of them.
Well, if you're going with a time travel idea, you could do something like that old show, Time Squad, where it was like
Quantum Leap.
Time Squad.
If
Oh yeah,
you're
that
wrong, you
cartoon.
need to fix it. Yeah.
What about Quantum Leap?
Never
Where
heard
it's
of
like, well, the idea was this guy was like stuck jumping like through time. His like persona would just become someone else, and like he would think he was normal, but he looks in the mirror and he's someone else, and he's just someone who already exists in that period. And he's got to like fix some problem or solve some problem
Before he does the next.
and then he jumps forward. And the idea is hypothetically, eventually, maybe he'll randomly get back to his own self. And so like the idea is you would like just suddenly jump into some historical figure and like you have to fulfill that role. You have to be that person, respond to events and situations in a way that matches that person's ideology.
So Assassin's Creed.
So
Yeah. Except if you mess up, it would
Assassin's
result
Creed,
in a
except
modern
with
day
Assassin's Creed, it was a little more like
Without the creed.
like.
Without the dream.
By the way, like
Yeah,
the
by the
fourth time you just slaughter someone in the street. By the way, you're not really supposed to do that. Okay.
So
Well,
we should
anyway,
probably
yeah, it was basically. All right.
probably wrap it up.